Why do we celebrate Halloween? Halloween, also known as All Halloween, All Hallows Eve, or All Saints' Eve, is a celebration observed in many countries on 31st of October, the eve of the Western Christian feast of All Hallows' Day. It begins the observance of All Hallowtide, the time in the liturgical year dedicated to remembering the dead, including saints, hallows, martyrs, and all the faithful departed. One theory holds that many Halloween traditions may have been influenced by ancient Celtic harvest festivals, particularly the Gaelic festival Samhain, which may have had pagan roots. Some scholars hold that Samhain may have been Christianized as All Hallows' Day, along with its eve, by the early church. Other academics believe, however, that Halloween began solely as a Christian holiday, being the vigil of All Hallows' Day. Halloween activities include trick-or-treating, or the related guising and souling, attending Halloween costume parties, carving pumpkins into jack-o'-lanterns, lighting bonfires, apple bobbing, divination games, playing pranks, visiting haunted attractions, telling scary stories, as well as watching horror films. In many parts of the world, the Christian religious observances of All Hallows' Eve, including attending church services and lighting candles on the graves of the dead, remain popular, although elsewhere it is a more commercial and secular celebration. Some Christians historically abstained from meat on All Hallows' Eve, a tradition reflected in the eating of certain vegetarian foods on this vigil day, including apples, potato pancakes, and soul cake. Today's Halloween customs are thought to have been influenced by folk customs and beliefs from the Celtic-speaking countries, some of which are believed to have pagan roots. Jack Santino, a folklorist, writes that there was throughout Ireland an uneasy truce existing between customs and beliefs associated with Christianity and those associated with religions that were Irish before Christianity arrived. Historian Nicholas Rogers, exploring the origins of Halloween, notes that while some folklorists have detected its origins in the Roman feast of Pomona, the goddess of fruits and seeds, or in the festival of the dead called Parentalia, it is more typically linked to the Celtic festival of Samhain, which comes from the Old Irish for summer's end. Samhain was the first and most important of the 4 quarter days in the medieval Gaelic calendar and was celebrated on 31st October to 1st November in Ireland, Scotland and the Isle of Man. A kindred festival was held at the same time of year by the Brittonic Celts, called Calan Gaeaf in Wales, Calan Gaeaf in Cornwall and Calan Gaeaf in Brittany, a name meaning first day of winter. For the Celts, the day ended and began at sunset, thus the festival began on the evening before 7th of November by modern reckoning, the half-point between equinox and solstice. Samhain is mentioned in some of the earliest Irish literature. The names have been used by historians to refer to Celtic Halloween customs up until the 19th century, and are still the Gaelic and Welsh names for Halloween. By the end of the 12th century they had become holy days of obligation across Europe and involved such traditions as ringing church bells for the souls in purgatory. In addition, it was customary for criers dressed in black to parade the streets, ringing a bell of the mournful sound and calling on all good Christians to remember the poor souls. Souling, The custom of baking and sharing soul cakes for all christened souls has been suggested as the origin of trick-or-treating. The custom dates back at least as far as the 15th century and was found in parts of England, Flanders, Germany, and Austria. Groups of poor people, often children, would go door to door during All Hallowtide, collecting soul cakes, in exchange for praying for the dead, especially the souls of the giver's friends and relatives. Trick-or-treating is a customary celebration for children on Halloween. Children go in costume from house to house, asking for treats such as candy or sometimes money, with the question, "Trick or treat?" The word trick implies a threat to perform mischief on the homeowners or their property if no treat is given. The practice is said to have roots in the medieval practice of mumming, which is closely related to souling. John Pym wrote that many of the feast days associated with the presentation of mumming plays were celebrated by the Christian Church. These feast days included All Hallows Eve, Christmas, Twelfth Night, and Shrove Tuesday. Mumming practiced in Germany, Scandinavia and other parts of Europe, involved masked persons in fancy dress who paraded the streets and entered houses to dance or play dice in silence. There are several games traditionally associated with Halloween. Some of these games originated as divination rituals or ways of foretelling one's future, especially regarding death, marriage and children. During the Middle Ages, these rituals were done by a rare few in rural communities as they were considered to be deadly serious practices. In recent centuries, these divination games have been a common feature of the household festivities in Ireland and Britain. They often involve apples and hazelnuts. In Celtic mythology, apples were strongly associated with the otherworld and immortality, while hazelnuts were associated with divine wisdom. Some also suggest that they derive from Roman practices in celebration of Pomona. Judaism. According to Alfred J. Koch in the Second Jewish Book of Y, in Judaism, Halloween is not permitted by Jewish halakha because it violates Leviticus 18:3, which forbids Jews from partaking in Gentile customs. Many Jews observe Yizkor communally 4 times a year, which is vaguely similar to the observance of All Hallowtide in Christianity, in the sense that prayers are said for both martyrs and for one's own family. Nevertheless, many American Jews celebrate Halloween, disconnected from its Christian origins. Reform Rabbi Jeffrey Goldwasser has said that there is no religious reason why contemporary Jews should not celebrate Halloween, while Orthodox Rabbi Michael Broyd has argued against Jews observing the holiday. Sheikh Idris Palmer, author of A Brief Illustrated Guide to Understanding Islam, has ruled that Muslims should not participate in Halloween, stating that participation in Halloween is worse than participation in Christmas, Easter. It is more sinful than congratulating the Christians for their prostration to the crucifix. It has also been ruled to be haram by the National Fatwa Council of Malaysia because of its alleged pagan roots, stating Halloween is celebrated using a humorous theme mixed with horror to entertain and resist the spirit of death that influence humans. Dar al-Ifta al-Misriya disagrees, provided the celebration is not referred to as a need and that behavior remains in line with Islamic principles. Hinduism. Hindus remember the dead during the festival of Pitru Paksha, during which Hindus pay homage to and perform a ceremony to keep the souls of their ancestors at rest. It is celebrated in the Hindu month of Bhadrapada, usually in mid-September. The celebration of the Hindu festival Diwali sometimes conflicts with the date of Halloween, but some Hindus choose to participate in the popular customs of Halloween. Other Hindus, such as Somyadas Gupta, have opposed the celebration on the grounds that Western holidays like Halloween have begun to adversely affect our indigenous festivals. Neo-paganism. There is no consistent rule or view on Halloween amongst those who describe themselves as neo-pagans or Wiccans. Some neo-pagans do not observe Halloween, but instead observe Samhain on 1st of November. Some neo-pagans do enjoy Halloween festivities, stating that one can observe both the solemnity of Samhain in addition to the fun of Halloween. Some neo-pagans are opposed to the celebration of Halloween, stating that it trivializes Samhain, and avoid Halloween, because of the interruptions from trick-or-treaters. The Manitoban writes that Wiccans don't officially celebrate Halloween, despite the fact that 31st of October will still have a star beside it in any good Wiccan's day planner. Starting at sundown, Wiccans celebrate a holiday known as Samhain. Samhain actually comes from old Celtic traditions and is not exclusive to neo-pagan religions like Wicca. While the traditions of this holiday originate in Celtic countries, modern-day Wiccans don't try to historically replicate Samhain celebrations. Some traditional Samhain rituals are still practiced, but at its core, the period is treated as a time to celebrate darkness and the dead, a possible reason why Samhain can be confused with Halloween celebrations. Philippines celebrates Halloween with devotion. The festivities start on October 31st or sometimes October 30th, depending on the year. The celebration continues during 2 consecutive national holidays in the country, All Saints' Day on November 1st and All Souls' Day on November 2nd. Some families use this opportunity to bond and catch up with their relatives, especially those who don't see each other on a regular basis. Going to the cemetery, setting up camp and spending the day there is one of the many traditions that Filipinos faithfully follow every year.